And we're doing it again? It's Thursday already? Be still, my beating heart. Happy Thursday. Happy good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the planet. And welcome to ADRAMADA. This is ADRAMADA, another Dave Rush Ask Me Anything Digital Alchemy. I am the aforementioned Dave Rush, and it is Thursday evening where I am, 7 p.m. Central Time, midnight Universal Coordinated Time. And it is time to get started. I have an exciting show this week. I have an exciting shirt this week. I have been waiting for this shirt to come in for a month just so I could wear it for the show. And sound is low. How about if I get closer to the mic? I had to get back far enough so that I could get the shirt in the shot. Howdy, Patricia Grace. Howdy, Tullowit. And what screen do we need to find out who's here? I don't know, and I don't even care. You're here. I'm here. That's what matters. I know somebody else is going to turn up here in very short order. Yeah, okay. It's the usual beginning crowd. I beg your pardon. A little oral surgery this week has festered with my sinuses. So I'm coughing and running and draining. So sorry. But I'm healthy, happy, and not in pain. And so that is where we're going. Better. Yeah, of course it's better. Here, let's just bring that thing right in and right up to my face. I was just looking at the volume levels just before I started the show, and I said, nope, nothing I can do about it. I can't tell if this mic, cool as it is, I bought it used, if it's got a weak cartridge. Because I don't get a lot of good stuff out of that. Anyways, so where are we at here? It's Andromeda. It's ADRAMADA. And we're a technology show. We like technology. We play with it. We research it. We want to know its impact on people's lives. So topics are wide ranging. We celebrate technology from electric cars to electric guitars and music and movies and synergy of energy and booting to computing and Linux to ethics. The chase to space. We got news on that today. We do cyber to fiber and security to electricity and some of my favorite stuff, Raspberry Pis to Li-Fi to AI. And we're not afraid to delve into social topics, whatever they may be. So this is, if you're watching this live, Thursday, August 24th, in the year 2023. You know, somebody could be watching this 40 years from now and they'll say, what did Dave Rush do 40 years ago? What did he talk about and how out of date? Wouldn't that be funny to see one of these shows 20, 30, 40 years from now and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe they were still talking about that. That's kind of like us talking about modem squeal, right? Which I love. Somebody, was it Patricia Grace? Patricia Grace, did you post the video, the audio scale of the modem tune, or was that somebody? I live on so many platforms, and apologies, but it was cool looking. Sure wasn't cool sounding, but it definitely looked cool. Anyway, what are we doing here? The project today last week. We installed Firefox version 1.16, which is not officially released yet, on a Raspberry Pi. We showed a method to get apps from non-standard repos. The version that we want was not in the repo that we selected. It came out to be version 1.13. We need 1.16. And so we took the cheap, quick way out. We used PyApps. And there's a script in there that's all ready to install it. Worked like a champ, showing YouTube videos using native video hardware decoding. And this is an exciting advancement for video on the Raspberry Pi. And there's more coming down the pike. So, eep, op, ork, here we go. I had hoped for, because of a snippet of a sentence, that we might have a special guest today. I included it in all my social announcements, and then I communicated with that guest in the last day or two, and he went to a super spreader event not long ago and is far enough under the weather that he is not ready to come on camera and microphone. So as soon as he's body and mind, body and spirit are willing. He will join us, and so looking forward to that. Hopefully we don't have any problems with OBS, but anybody watching, hopefully if OBS fails and we lose video, I still see chat stuff. So let me know if there's problems. Best mics need mic amp power, except this is a dynamic mic, so it doesn't, it's not a condenser mic. It doesn't use system power, so that's no good. The usual suspects are here, and Jason says the term suspect is just a little harsh. Unless I was sleep posting. YouTube in 40 years. I wonder what YouTube will be, huh? The whole world is going to morph. The whole internet world will be so morphed in 40 years. We would not recognize it. Our children will. All right. I had some fun, so I hate to waste. Our topic today is about passwords. So I just thunk that I might throw up a nice little password. I love this word cloud creator site. I'm getting more and more into it. It's a lot of fun. I've used it in a fairly boring way here. It's always the same color schemes and things like that. So you'll see later I've got another word cloud coming up where I've started to play with some of the settings, and that's going to make it just a lot of fun. All right. You've seen the slide. All right, let's do news of the week. And I only got 5 or so we can make that quick. Image slideshow, come back up. I don't know if this is a technology question or if it's a social or a policy question, but it's kind of technologically related. So we've talked about this a little bit in the past. Different states are applying different methods to extract road taxes from EV operators, electric vehicles. Here in Texas, we have a flat rate. If you have an EV, when you register it annually, get new tags or whatever, they clip you for an extra $200. That goes to their road tax fund. Other states do it different ways. This one's a new one, so I thought we'd mention this. 2 states, Oregon and Utah, announced mandated GPS trackers in electric vehicles to tax drivers on a per mile driven basis. Wow. I'm stunned that their citizenry would permit that. You know, maybe not. Those 2 states, they're pretty different politically speaking. I can certainly see one of them saying, oh, yes, I want the government deep into my life. I want them to know everything about me all the time. I'm not doing anything wrong. I got nothing to be afraid of, so I'm sharing my life with the gov. And the other one, not so much. So, I don't know. I'm sure the initial law will only call for miles being reported. But this is slippery slope territory. As soon as somebody in a law enforcement agency says, hey, wait a minute, you know what? There's information in that tracker that will help us solve a crime. We want a subpoena to get the information out of there. I want to know where this car has been. Maybe the car isn't a suspect, but we think that this car was spotted in the area where a crime was committed. We want to talk to the driver and see if they saw anything. So give me their GPS tracker data, and then it just slippery slopes from there on in. And I just find that terrifying. So tax me if you need to, state, but this level of government intrusion into people's privacy is beyond the pale. And in my mind, that's pure Fourth Amendment violation. All right, before I move on, let's go see who's posting anything about that. Patricia Grace, the X Everything app is supposed to take over. Yeah, we call it Skynet. Utah, that's the government for you. Tax you till you die. Tax you to help you die, perhaps. And what was that about? A charge in Texas when registering EV? Right, so that's the way Texas gets road taxes out of EV owners. Every year you have to cough up your various fees for your car. You don't get a new license plate, but you get a sticker for your license plate here, and it's whatever the fee is. And it's an interesting deal. Your car has to be inspected. You go to an inspection station, which is very inexpensive, and you have to show them your current insurance policy, and then they smog test you and safety check your lights and your brakes and all that happy stuff. And then if you pass and your insurance is current, then they send their report to the state, and the state sends you a week or 2 or 5 or 10 later a sticker for you to apply, not onto your license plate, onto your windshield here in Texas. So there's two really interesting things about that. I have mostly diesel vehicles. We don't get smog tested because they're going to fail, but they allow them to be sold. So let's not waste anybody's time. There's not as many diesel vehicles as there are all the other ones. So I get off, and that means my inspection costs, I don't know, $5, $4, something like that every year. But if you're an EV owner, instead of that $5 or whatever the fee is for normal cars, they don't smog test them either, so it should be cheaper. But you got to cough up an extra $200 every year for that fee. Yeah, it's chilling. We have sticker each year and registration fee, but no inspection. Thought you were saying extra fee for EV. I am saying extra fee for EV. $200 extra. Yeah, the inspection thing here started sometime back, 20 years ago, something like that. And it was just implemented on the smoggiest city in the state. My handy dandy little home city, Houston, Texas, or home county. And it was such a revenue boon. I mean, such a great improvement on air quality that they implemented it statewide. Yes, $200 a year just for EVs, plus the usual registration fees, whatever they are. Yeah, so that's something, huh? What else is in the news? Ever so quick like. Ultra RAM. It's not a brand new thing. It's been in the news for a little while, but it's becoming ready for commercial level production. Ultra RAM is a new super high speed RAM. It's a new technology of RAM. Do I want to get into how RAM works? No. This is RAM that can be used in computer RAM, and it can be used in SSD and flash media. It is many, many, many times faster than traditional flash media and RAM. It also is many, 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 many times more rewritable. You get about 100,000 rewrites of on a given cell of a standard SSD memory chip. These things, many, many more, and they use a quantum effect to store ones and zeros and to read ones and zeros. So we're not flipping circuitry on or off. We are flipping quantum states. They. And what that means is you can shut this thing down in a hibernation state, and the current estimate of how long it will stay hibernated, and you can wake it up and fire up, pick up right where you left off, assuming all the other components worked, 1,000 years. There's a lot of smoke. No fire. There's nothing real to talk about here, but it's interesting. It's fascinating to my mind. Definitely crazy. I shouldn't laugh, but nobody got hurt, so I'll laugh. Saturday, I think it was, sometime in the last 5 days or so. Luna 25 spun out of control. An unpredicted orbit, they called it, but that puppy was spinning and crashed onto the moon. After 60 years of attempting the last attempt, the Russians tried to land on the moon. That one crashed. Here we go again. They are space. Look, all there is to say about this, space is hard. And it's even that much harder when a cash-strapped nation is trying to do it. And not only are they cash-strapped, they are in the midst of an expensive and debilitating war. So anybody who thought this was going to be a success, there's always a chance, totally missed the boat. The Russian Roscosmos, the Russian space agency, estimated a 70% chance of success. That is not what the rest of the world's odds makers were saying. And look, you gotta, whatever you think about this, I don't know what to think about it. It would have been potentially interesting research. The problem is they weren't really trying to do research. They were trying to gain a little prestige in the world again. And this is humiliating for them. And you just got to know that leaders in the U.S., in the Ukraine, in India, they must have snickered pretty darn hard under their breath when it went in. So sorry. In the meantime, a spacecraft did successfully land on the moon. A couple days later, 4 days later, India successfully landed their lunar module and rover in the same area that the Russians were going to, down in the southern pole, where there is presumably a great deal of frozen water ice. The aircraft was, I can't pronounce it, Chandrayaan 3. They've got footage of the landing, but they haven't released it yet. The world waits. And they will start exploratory operations soon. The goal to confirm accessibility of that frozen water ice, and this could lead very well to future fuel, oxygen, and water for possible lunar bases. All right, that's all the news of the week. There's other stuff, and we'll get to that. Back to me. All right, who's saying what before we move on to the next thing? Jason, looks like something that should come from the movie Spaceballs. One of my favorite guilty pleasure movies. That'd be funny afterward. I can't talk to Luna 20. I cannot talk to Luna 25. What should I do? Have you rebooted your spacecraft? That's the first thing we want you to do. Reboot your spacecraft. I see a skit. Where are we at here time-wise? 18, cool. Some just personal projects in the news this week. It's been fun. You got to know me. I love me some Linux, but Linux sucks. It's so fiddly. We've talked about this before. I want my daily driver, my Ubuntu box, and I should say boxes, to be flexible enough to do anything. And I want it to do this stuff. I want to run OBS on there. I want to do everything from there. And when I installed OBS on there, it worked. It's okay. But I wanted it to do more things. And as I came to learn and become a little more proficient with OBS Studio, which is what I'm using right here, right now on this Windows machine, I realized there are features that I wasn't taking advantage of and that I wanted. One of them is called Virtual Camera. Virtual Camera says OBS uses the real cameras and the slideshows and all this stuff, and it pretends to be a camera. So another program like Discord, instead of connecting to a camera, connects to OBS as if OBS were a camera. It's called Virtual Camera. And my Linux version, you couldn't turn it on. I clicked the button and nothing happened. No buttons turned color. No, And so I fought with it back in those early days for a few hours and abandoned it. Well, this weekend I says to myself, I'm supposed to know something about this. I'm going to make it work. And I won't bore you with all the long trials and errors, but the short version is I'm not the only one to have this problem. And there are lots of people who have posted their solutions. And I tried them all. I tried 5 solutions. Try this. It doesn't work. Try this. In fact, nothing even came close to working. And after you do one fix attempt, you have to undo everything so that the fixes and the files and so forth don't contaminate your next effort, because you don't know what you've solved then. So try something, undo everything. Try something, undo everything. Well, I did that about 5 times and nothing. And there was one left that I'd selected to attempt. And I knew what was going to happen. I'm going to try it and nothing's going to happen. So I tried it and I clicked the button and the button changed color. Well, that's what it's supposed to do. But it bothered me because it didn't change color on my Linux box the same color that it changes on my Windows box. I thought, this is funky. This is weird. Nonetheless, it says that it's being a virtual camera. So let's fire up my Discord application that runs on Windows and attach to it. And hey, it just ran like a champ. I did some recordings. I connected with some other people. And it's because it's the Linux version of it. It's got a different color on the button. So OBS is now, to my knowledge, fully functional. Can do everything and anything on my Linux box. And I'm very excited. This is a mechanical keyboard. I'm going to presume that that's on camera. Hey, there we go. Okay. And I was typing on it over the weekend, doing that particular project. And I had to do a lot of Linux paths in there. And the key that I use, actually, other paths, I was doing backslashes. I was doing some writing that required backslashes. Oh, and pipes, which is the same key on that mechanical keyboard. And I would hit it, and I'm a touch typist. And then the command failed. Why? Oh, it's missing backslashes or it's missing pipes. And so I'd put the cursor in the right place with my mouse, and then I would just crush that keyboard and shake it and wiggle it, and eventually it would fire up. Okay. So I need to clean my keys under there. Usually, on most keyboards, you can take a flat surface, like, I use a pocket knife a long time. You can use a little screwdriver. This is a pair of tweezers that I have. And you just pop it underneath one of the keys, front, back, sides, top, bottom, whatever makes you happy, and pry it up a little bit, and the key pops off. But that wasn't happening. I was putting a lot of force, and I knew that it was going to break. So, we better stop that process and go online and learn how to remove a keycap from a mechanical keyboard. And so that's what I did. In your box with your mechanical keyboard is supposed to be a tool like this. I did not have in my box a tool like this because I do not have my box. I think I bought that new. But you can see what happens here. Those 2 little hooks, they grasp underneath the skirt, the edge of the key on the sides, and then you pull up and wiggle just a little bit, and the keycap is supposed to fall off. Well, I don't have that tool, but it looks like it doesn't connect to any mechanical devices, hooks or latches or anything like that under the key. So I took the back of my handy dandy little tweezers, and I took a pocket knife and put those under the sides of the 2 keycaps and pried them up gently, and popped up. Yay! Of course, I unplugged the keyboard from the USB port, got that up, whipped out some contact cleaner, waited about a minute, blew on it a little bit just to make sure it was all fully evaporated. You just push the keycap back on, it snaps, and hey, I got backslashes again. So that was a fun little exercise. was telling Michael Smyer about it yesterday. We were in the office together, and he said, "Oh, well, I got one of those." Thanks. I could have 3D printed one, but I couldn't wait that long. So I will 3D print one this weekend. Some of you know this. I accidentally ran into this. Did I do a slide? No, I didn't do a slide on this. I accidentally hit some key or button on my Brave browser and a sidebar opened. I didn't know it had a sidebar. And so step number one, let's learn how to activate the sidebar and how to deactivate it. And then let's go look at what's in the sidebar. And there was a thing in there. There's 4 things in there. One of them was called Brave Voice. I said, hey, that must be a voice session. Let me fire it up. And it was a voice and video session. And I went over to the company Discord server and just posted a little message. Said, hey, if anybody's running Brave and they're on right now, would you do a session with me? And I posted the session link on there. And a couple seconds later, one of our regulars, Abu Bakr Al-Haj, I believe that was him, joined my session, and we shot the breeze for a little while, did some camera and audio testing, and it was really cool. And then we closed the session. I did some research. You can do 4 participants max with the free version, but it's good quality video, good quality audio. So if you're using Brave, I suppose you could go find it through the regular menus too, through the hamburger menu, but it's right there in the sidebar, and it's darned convenient. And the last thing under Dave's personal news of the week, I am now bionic, or at least partly bionic. I'm, as I mentioned, I am just redoing my everything from the nose to my chin. Don't ignore your teeth. Words of advice from many of us. And so I'm having a good time building a Hollywood smile. It's going to take a year and a half from the time I started, but I cracked a tooth. That was kind of the impetus for getting restarted on everything. And it was a tooth that had a root canal 20 years ago. So off to oral surgeon, and he hauls it out, and then back to oral surgeon and lots of other meetings. So I was at the oral surgeon on Tuesday this week, and it's been long enough since the tooth came out, and they put dead people bone in there, and it's all grafted in the world. And then he screwed this titanium screw in that they're going to mount the tooth on later. And so now I have titanium. I'm bionic. It doesn't bother me, and it's not painful or anything like that. And, someday I'll have a perfect smile again. But I'll tell you what bothers me. I wanted to go to the grave raw. Just me. No extra surprises or parts. So unconsciously, this is just kind of giving me the willies. It's not what I want to be. It's not who I want to be. But there you go. Not much choice. All right, that takes care of the news, the rants. Let's see who's posting what. Scott's here. Huzzah. Let me go super scrolled here. I still love that text. That's a great line, Tullowit. Don't press the Control-Alt-Delete on the space. There's so many memes that could come out of this. Guys, we got to do a skit. We got to... Tullowit, I know you speak Russian. I hope your accent is good. We're going to do a skit here. You're going to be Russian Mission Control. Everybody get your thinking caps on. Post all your stuff on the Discord server, the ADRAMADA Discord server. We're doing a skit. Try undo. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're well enough to watch the show, Scott. Thanks. Sudo app delete. No dashes. Got here just for the win. Aroo. Leatherman for the win. Darn right. My mechanical keyboard has no such thing. Robbed. 2 pocket knives. 2 butter knives. Got an easier solution. Use a hammer. You guys. And Scott retracts whatever horrible thing. All right. Hey, let's do a project. Today's project is going to be done on a Linux machine. You can do this on any Linux machine. The program that we're going to use is available for Linux machines. It's not available for Windows. You could also run this on a Mac machine. And it's a password generator. That's all it does. It makes passwords. You copy them, you save them, you print them, you do whatever you're going to do with them. But it's such a cool utility. It makes strong passwords. It's powerful. It's flexible. It has lots of options. It's fun. It's easy. And I was just kind of enamored by it when I ran into it. So the name of the program is called makepasswd. There's no OR. makepasswd. And we're going to do it in Ubuntu today. And the only reason I'm doing that and not in a Raspberry Pi is because we did a Raspberry Pi project last week. And, you know, I love them, but I don't want everybody to think who comes here or watches this on archive, Dave always does those Raspberry Pi stuff. We're a technology show. We do anything. But I do like to use Linux, and we like to expose people to it. So makepasswd, we'll call it password, is a Linux utility. It's not built into Linux. It's something that's got to be installed, creates customized, strong passwords, can create password hashes at the same time it makes the password. It can use open character sets or very tightly defined character sets. We can specify minimum sizes, maximum sizes, specific sizes, random seeding, salting. I'll clarify what that is in a moment. Some of you have heard the term, especially if you're playing around with some CompTIA certifications or others. So it's a Linux utility, but it doesn't make passwords for Linux. It makes passwords, so you can use those passwords in any arena that makes you happy. The whole point here is if you got to make a lot of passwords, you don't want to be thinking them up out of your head all the time. Let this thing create them in batches for you. And if you're like me, I'm reasonably creative in some areas, but I'm just terrible when it comes to making passwords, especially strong ones. So a utility comes into play there. You can use it to make single passwords. You can make many passwords. It's more creative than many of us. And all right. So I got an SSH session open. Let's see if we can get to it. Bump, bump. Hey, there we go. And I don't have it installed, and I've cleaned up all my files. I'll tell you one thing I learned about this thing. I got this from a tutorial, and let me post that tutorial. There it is. So you could look this up. I'm doing everything that they did in that tutorial in order. But there's an important lesson that we've learned here in other arenas and shows. And that is when you copy paste something into Microsoft Word, there are some Microsoft Word settings that if you don't have them disabled, like smart quotes, it turns things like double dashes into single dashes, and it does that to lots of other characters. And then when you copy paste those into your SSH session, they don't work. So what I had to do, because I haven't turned those features off yet on this machine, is I would copy paste them into Notepad, and then all the smart stuff goes away, all the weird stuff that gets converted into smart, and then from Notepad I would copy them into my notes, and it would work like a champ. So be careful when messing with Windows and trying to copy paste stuff from there into an SSH session. All right, so I got to use, oops, screen is blank. Yes, the screen is blank. That's okay. I will solve that right now. Let's make sure. Okay, I see the mouse moving over there. There we go. Okay, are we back? Should be back, but I'm double checking one screen here. I I don't understand this. I use this program 3 times a week and do 1 hour and 2 hour shows with it. And I'm not having, this is the only time and place that I have this problem. I do not get this. All right, we're back. I'm seeing smooth stream errors again. I don't know. All right. And I cut the show off early last week. Sorry about that. Because of the same kind of error, I will not do that. All right. Timing-wise, we look okay. So here we go. Let's do some biz, see what happens. The first thing we're going to do, what we need to know about this makepasswd utility is it uses a built-in utility in Linux called urandom. The letter U, the word random. It's in the whack-dev folder or directory. So, and this is why we can't use it in Windows, because Windows doesn't have a user-accessible randomizer utility. So let me show you that. ls whack-dev whack-ur. And there it is. So there's whack-dev whack-urandom. And this makepasswd thing is going to take advantage of that as do it. So let's install it. It's a real simple install. And if you go use that tutorial, it will show you all the different ways to install on all kinds of different distros. I'm doing an install for a Debian distro, sudo apt install makepasswd. Give it my little password that lets me install programs. And this is a really quick install, 5 seconds. If it's the first time you've installed it, you may be prompted with a yes or no, do you really want to do this? But it's done, and it's not a big program. It's only a little under 300K. When I removed it last time, it left some pieces, so it loaded even more quickly this time, but it's really quick. Okay, you can run it right off the bat. All you got to do is just type in makepasswd, and he just randomly generates a password. It's got upper and lowercase letters. I see a number in there. So, okay. And it just puts it on the screen. From here, you would have to copy it or write it down or whatever. So we want to add a little bit more oomph to that thing. So first of all, let's see how to use makepasswd. We'll do makepasswd space -- help. And I want to talk about a couple of these switches. First one is -- characters, chars, equals n, where n is a number, and that will create passwords with exactly n number of characters in it. Moving down to count. Count equals n, -- count equals n. This says how many passwords you want it to make. The default is 1. Crypt creates encrypted passwords. Crypt MD5 not only creates encrypted password, but it also creates an MD5 hash of the file. Crypt salt allows me to add a numeric value as a salt. I'll explain that in just a couple of seconds. Of course, we can see here, help. If we specify max characters equals n, and that's all, then it will make passwords with any number of characters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to whatever value of n you put in there. And likewise, if you specify minimum characters, let's say minimum 4, it could make 4-character passwords, 5 characters, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can specify both a min and a max. You can't use min or max if you use characters equals n, because one is kind of opposite of the other, right? No crypt is the default. It won't create encrypted passwords by default. And random seed allows us to provide a random number to the randomizer that we choose. It's called the seed. We put in a seed number. And then this one, I think, is you're going to find the most interesting. String equals, and we put a string here between single quotes. Whatever you put in between single quotes defines the character set that makepasswd will use to create characters. So I'm going to do some demos of all of these things. So we'll start with makepasswd -- characters equals 9. So this is going to do all the defaults. It's not encrypted. It's going to make one password. And the size of the password will be exactly 9 characters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, it worked. I love that stuff. He's got mixed cases in here. I don't see numbers in this one, and that's one of the problems. There's no special characters in here. That's a default. It doesn't use special characters by default. So if we're going to make strong passwords, we're going to have to define a character set that it can use that will include special characters. So now what I want to do is I want to generate some passwords here. A password. And I want to define a maximum number of characters. So makepasswd max characters equals, let's make it 11. And I want to save whatever it generates to a file. By using a double caret here, a double greater than, if the file doesn't exist yet, it will be created. If the file name that I specify after here does exist, it will be added as new last lines to that file. So I'm going to say generated passwords.txt. And it happened, but it didn't show it on the screen. He generated a password that won't have any more than 11 characters, maybe less, and it saved it to this generated passwords text file. So let's see if we can see that. Current folder, there it is, generated passwords.txt. So if I want to see that, I have to cat it. And there it is, one line. It does have numbers in it. It's got upper and lowercase letters. There's another number. But again, no special characters. So let's do this again. And I'll make it 11 character max again. So let's let him generate a new password here. And since that file exists now, the new password will be added underneath this 952 Ti one. Bump. And we'll cat it. And there's a new password, NEU MCN mixed cases. No numbers in that one. All right, that's the last time I'm going to make files in today's demo. Now this time I'm going to copy paste this one because there's a lot of typing in here. I'm going to make another password. One password, 13 characters. And this time I'm going to define the characters that it can pick from to create passwords. And look, we did here, I did all lowercase A through Z, no uppercase ones, no numbers, no special characters. And I want it to be exactly 13 characters long. So enter, pops up on the screen. There is a 13 character password, all lowercase letters. I could have saved that to a file. I could have made more of these. So the point of this is just to demonstrate with this minus string and a set of single quotes, whatever you put in the single quotes is the character set that the password will be made from. Passwords are not usually saved in a file in a system. When you type in login Fred and it says, okay, Fred, what's your password? And you type in Fred, password Fred, there is no database on the system that looks up Fred, password Fred to see what you did. When you type in Fred, password Fred, a hash is going to be created of that in your client. It's going to be sent over to the server. The server has already created the same hash. and it looks for a match of the hashes. And we do this on purpose, right? Hash, we talked about hashes back in May in an episode where it's a one-way function. You can't look at a hash and reverse calculate it, reverse engineer it to figure out what data was used to create that hash. So let me show you what I mean here. I'm going to say make password. I'm going to say make 5 passwords just so we can add some new features here. Count equals 5. We want it to be an encrypted password, and we want it to create MD5 hashes, message digest 5, with maximum 12 characters. So bump. Here's 5 passwords that got created. They have no more than 12 characters in them. Some have less. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that looks like. There's a 12er. And then what you see next to that is the MD5 hash, and it has some extra characters built in there. All of these things start with $1. That's not part of the hash. And at the 9th character in, they also add another $sign. That's not part of the hash. But all of the other characters are part of the hash. And they don't display it the way normal hashes are displayed here, which is typically done in hexadecimal. So you got to run this through a hexadecimal converter to see what it would look like in hex. And again, we're just trying to keep people from breaking this easily if this were to be saved to a file or something like that. So we can add all these things together. I could add a string set to this, minimum characters, save it to files, lots of goodies here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an encrypted password, and I can do that with simply --crypt, but I'm going to do it a different way here. And I don't want to do that. Let's have a clean screen here. I'm going to say make 5 passwords. Make password, count 5. Minimum characters of each password has to be 8. And by adding random seed equals some numeric value, that tells makepasswd that it's going to be an encrypted password. We're going to use the randomizer, and we're going to provide a seed value here. This doesn't look any different than what I did earlier. It's just 5 random passwords, right? Well, they're more random now. That's the best I can tell you. They're harder to crack because they've been seeded. Our problem next is these aren't strong passwords because strong passwords need special characters. So let's do another one. We'll make 3 passwords here. And this time we're going to do a more complete character set. I didn't do an entire alphabet here. So I'm going to make password, 3 of them, count as 3. Maximum characters of each password will be 15. And use characters from the set of lowercase vowels, A-E-I-O-U, uppercase vowels, and underscore, all the numbers 0 through 10. And here's a set of special characters, which just happen to be the characters when you hold shift 1 through 10. So let's see what he does. Hey, look at that. So I got numbers, I got an uppercase O, a lowercase I, more numbers, there's parentheses, so there's special case, there's an asterisk. Same thing here, same thing here. This is the nature of strong passwords. Strong passwords are not easy to pronounce. They're not easy to remember. We didn't specify a minimum number here, so there's not many in this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We said max is going to be 15, but we didn't specify a minimum. How about here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That one hit the max. One more. We're going to salt our password now. Oops. I thought I muted that. Okay. So I'm going to make password. I'm going to make 2 of them. I'm going to make them encrypted passwords. And salting is when you add characters into a created password. They get mixed in before they are encrypted and before they are hashed. And the salting in this instance has to be numbers from 1 through 4096 inclusive. Can't do 0. It's got to be a positive number that's equal to or less than 4096. So we picked 512 here. Our minimum password character length is going to be 6. It doesn't look much different than what we did before. However, there is some interesting stuff here. I got more than 6 characters in these password, and this H tells me that it's an encrypted password. And this is the encrypted password that includes the encrypted salt. Again, nobody cares. You may need that salt in a decryption algorithm that you're using. It's fine. But it's not being used in Linux. This is something that I can save to a file or print off and then use this. And this is where you probably use something like this. I've got 50 new students coming into my classroom. I have 1,000 new students coming into the school. I've just hired a whole bunch of new people in my organization. They all need accounts. They need passwords. And so rather than me sitting there one by one generating passwords, I can do this. I can create 1,000 passwords. I can export them into the profiles. I can do all kinds of goodies, and I'll have it documented for if they don't change them. You get the idea. All right, let's close that. Goodness my gracious. So, summary. Makepasswd is a Linux utility. It's not built into Linux. You have to install it. It installs in all the Debian distros. It installs in the Red Hat-based distros and Arch Linux and lots and lots and lots of other ones. I gave you the link for that. That'll show you how to install in any of them. Linux, Mac. I don't think the instructions for installing that into Mac are on that tutorial that I used or on that document that I used, but easy to research. It uses the dev random utility that's already built into all these Linux flavors. Let's see, I said that. It's not available for Windows because Windows doesn't have a user accessible randomizer utility. It's used to create simple clear text passwords or complex encrypted passwords complete with hashes, encryption, user input, randomizers, salting. It's just a tool to take the drudgery out of creating passwords yourself or from your head. His focus, it creates secure passwords that aren't easily remembered or easily pronounceable. It's all about security. So that's it. An on-time project. One hiccup with OBS. I'm so sorry. I will get that problem solved. I'll try back on the Linux box again next week when we do this, and we'll see if that solves the problem. Just weird, wacky stuff. All right, let's see who's got something to say before we close out all day. You're having internet outage. I had an internet outage. Internet went out here at 11 a.m. yesterday. And I could see that it wasn't working. I went up and looked at my modems. We have 2 internet feeds here because my wife has to have a separate network because she works for a HIPAA compliant company. So she can't be on our network and I can't be on, but both network modems were showing no connect. And I'm not on the notification list of our cable provider. My wife's phone is. It gets text messages. So a little while later, a couple hours later, she sent me a message that said, hey, sorry, there's an outage in your area. It will be fixed by 6 p.m. We anticipate it. And I said, well, that's perfect. I got to go to the office. I'll come back around 6 or so. Went to the office, worked there for a few hours, left the office at 5, got home a little bit after 6. it ain't working. And the missus forwards me another text. It will be working by 6 a.m. tomorrow. So, okay, it's going to be a quiet evening. I'm not going to get any work done. About 2 hours later, I came in here and took a look at the computer, and it looked like it was connected. So I gave it a try, and hey, it was back before 6 a.m., and I got a lot of work done. Yay. Back, clear, type stuff. That password almost says on shot first. I love this shirt. I knew about the controversy. I never realized anybody bothered to make shirts and stickers and bumper stickers and all that stuff. So when that dawned on me, I put two and two together. I did that while I was looking for shirt providers for the 4 shirts that we've selected to print and distribute to you all. I saw one of these and I said, oh, I've just got to have that. Just know this is very cool. Thank you. Just thought of this SSID name. Yeah, that's cool. Password Chewbacca. Use makepasswd to generate it. Well, good. So yeah, if you're running Kali Linux, this works in Kali. If you're working using Parrot, it's so many of them. It's just good stuff. All right. Anybody else got anything? I got nothing else for the day. I got no more rants and raves. We got about 2 minutes of show left. Wow. And this time when I end the stream, I'll make sure it actually gets to the end. How can I do that? It looks like the problem is solved, but you know how that goes. Okay, well, hey, look, I need your help. I haven't put much effort into... Mom was on phone, missed most of the project. That's okay. I haven't done much effort in driving membership to the ADRAMADA Discord, and I want that to be kind of the heart and soul of ADRAMADA. Got the website up, and I haven't done much effort on that either. Busy life. I'm caught up on most of my major projects, and I can start doing some of that stuff. But hey, get the word out, if you will. Almost everybody here, if not everybody, is a member of the Discord server. Please post some invites and things like that. Let's get some people on there and get this thing growing. I think it's going to be really valuable. I think it's going to be really fun. And the more people, the merrier, right? I'm not looking to become a community server. I don't want 1,000 people in it. If we get 1,000, that'd be great. But let's find some tech nerds who share our interest. By the way, Tullowit, I'm going to run long now. I had a meeting with my new boss today. He's San Francisco based, and he's new. He just started a week or two ago, and so we're feeling each other out. I really like him. Knows Scott really well, and we did camera meeting today, and he looked at the back of the set and says, "Oh my gosh, that's just." He loves this whole Star Trek thing. I looked at his background, and he's got all kinds of fantasy stuff there, and so we started comparing notes. Tullowit, he's right up your alley. Been playing the same D&D game with the same 9 or 10, I don't know how many players, but for the last 9 years. So they've got a guild that hasn't changed in forever. Scott, I don't know if you knew that, but you surely do. You've known this guy for way longer than I have. Yes, he is a total D&D nerd, and he's as a new boss, he is very, 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 very busy. And won't join the company Discord server yet, but it won't be long, a couple weeks, and we'll get you guys hooked up. I'm sure you're not going to play. You both have your own guilds, and they're all just jamming away. But yeah, total D&D nerd. Hey, well, what do you say we wind this thing up then? I know how I want to do this. We'll do this again next Thursday, as we always do. And until then, I wish you a great rest of the week. Please take care of each other. Take serious steps to stay healthy. If at all possible, call or visit your parents. And you know it, never forget, technology is great, but the greatest resource we have are you and I. And with that, I shall bid you good night. I'll see you on ADRAMADA next Thursday. And why do I have that? Oh, I know why. That's it. I'll see you on ADRAMADA next Thursday. Until then, remember, How you do anything is how you do everything. So, eep, op, ork, later, guys.